Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Living United with Nashua Business. This show is all about exposing you to business leaders from our community who are involved in the act of philanthropy. Organizations that are using the good work they do to give back to the community beyond the business services and products they offer to make our community stronger, smarter, safer, healthier, and happier. So I'm here today in the studio with my good friend Ash Samuel from CrossNet Inc. Ash, I wanted to thank you and welcome you to the show today.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you having me here.
Well, it's an honor. We've known each other for a while now, and I wanted to say before we even get started at United Way, you're a big supporter of ours. You've worked with us to help bring some of our other work to the air through our radio show, and you're a donor, so we thank you for that support. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show. Before we get to that, I really do want to talk a lot about IT, which is your world. You know, information technology, networking, hardware, software. It's a scary world out there. Technology is changing. The landscape of, it used to be things like I had Norton Utilities on my computer and it caught my viruses and I was good. But man, the world has changed and gotten more complicated, a little bit hard to understand. So let's talk about that. What is it that your business does? Who do you work with? What are the services you offer?
So we are an IT company. In the industry, we're called managed service provider. So what we do is we manage small, medium-sized businesses. By that I mean anywhere from 15 to about 50 computers are an ideal client for us, and we take care of all their IT needs. We are as if their internal employee, their internal IT department. So right from procuring hardware to installing to securing it and maintaining it on an ongoing basis is what we thrive on.
So it's actually the hardware, the software, the network, all of that, like the full package.
Yeah.
And that's good I like the way you said, it's as if I had an IT company, an IT department. Right. I used to work for a really big company, a Fortune 500, $1 billion plus company. And I always had the help desk, right? And I could, as a user in the company, there were 500 people at my site. I could call the help desk and say, my computer's not working, and somebody would come over and fix it or not fix it or help me or not help me. I don't know. Sometimes it was not as helpful as I had hoped, but this is what you do, right? You are the help desk.
Exactly. So let's just assume that you were establishing a new company, you were going to have 15 employees, or you had an existing company with 15, 20, whatever number of employees. We would, contact Comcast for you if you needed, or any internet provider in the area. We would install all the network security. We would install the PCs, the network, the hardware, connect everything, the printers. We would also help you figure out a software that would work for your industry specifically. We would help configure it, manage it for you. As employees join, we would create accounts for them, for example, deactivate them as they move on, and then transfer data over to a new employee when they join, and we would have everything ready for them. And of course, whenever they have problems, they can call us, and we pretty much answer calls live, so you will get a live help desk technician who would take your call and respond and be able to either remote in or walk you through it. And if that doesn't work, we would drive over and take care of it at your premises.
That's really a fantastic service, and that's so helpful. It keeps you running, right? So that you don't, like, IT is not my business. I'm in the nonprofit business. I can't run my business if my computers aren't running, my network isn't running. What about the security? So this seems to be like the big issue these days, hacking and phishing and viruses and, two-factor authentication and, am I a robot? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
How is this world evolving, and what are some of the things people should really be aware of these days?
So right off the bat, I would say it's not about when, if you will get hacked, it's when you will get hacked. And so you have to have that mindset. You may never get hacked, but you want to have that mindset and not have, oh, I'll take care of it when I take care of it. So some of the things that people are doing, bad actors are doing, is phishing, like you mentioned, which is they send an email that looks like, some website. You click on it, you actually log in, you think you're logging in to maybe Dropbox or Facebook or some website that you're familiar with, but what you're doing is it's a fake website and you're giving up your username and password. And if you are using similar variations of that password, they might actually use it in other websites because they might know where you bank, for example, where your work, for example, so they know your email, and they'll try from one item to jump into one login to jump into the other, and so on and so forth. A lot of tools are being used, even AI is being used for this, so they are getting smarter, more efficient, and better across the board. And they may be more than likely operating from other countries, and sometimes it's very targeted attacks towards the country and towards maybe even a department or a government agency. And you might also get involved in that when they're sweeping all the IPs or all the networks, and you become a targeted attack at you. So
yeah, one of the things I've noticed is that, I get these sort of attempts daily, really. And what I've learned is that if I take my time and I slow down, and I get an email and it says, it's from venture capital, my credit card, and they're asking for some information, or they have some inquiry. If I hover over the link that's there, don't click on it, but just hover over it, you can kind of see in the lower left-hand corner what the website address is, and sometimes it's like really obvious that it's not what you would expect to see. Instead of saying venture capital, it says, I don't know, whatever, Joe's Pizza Shop, and has a very weird URL. Yeah. And so if you just slow down a little bit, sometimes you can catch a lot of these things. Is that right?
That is correct. But sometimes they will literally target you in the sense that they will spell United Way, for example, with just one alphabet off. And so when you hover and you really don't look at unitedway.org or whatever website you're going to, they might just catch you. Like you said, that's a good habit to have, to just slow down a bit and actually look at the entire website. And if nothing else, go to that website directly and then try to log in and answer the question or whatever the information is needed to do that, rather than clicking on the email link that is sent.
Now, two-factor authentication is something we hear a lot about. I know what it means when I'm asked for two-factor authentication. It means, I try to log into something and they say, well, we're going to send you a text message with a code. You put that code in and then you're good to go. How do you set something like that up so that you can protect yourself using two-factor authentication?
So first off, most people don't know that you can set up two-factor authentication practically for everything, not just for your bank accounts, but your email. You can set up two-factor even for your PC login, but more importantly, things that you normally use like Facebook or social media accounts, or even, for example, a commercial website like Amazon or any of these other websites that you might go and buy items, and you might put your credit card in. They can be all two-factor authenticated, and 99% of these companies, I would say maybe even 100%, give you this service for free. So what it does is, the value of it is that even if your username and your password are compromised, the text message will still come to you, and you will know that somebody's trying to log in. And then you don't have that session open, so even if you were to put that code in, you couldn't put it in because either you're not in front of the computer. If you are, you're not on the same website, so you know that somebody's trying. So the first thing you do is obviously change the password. And then the other thing that you want to make sure is that there are, depending on who the website is, there are guides and tools available for you to set that up. And basically you log in and enable the two-factor. It asks you your cell phone or an app and with a code, and you can download an app or just use your cell phone to get the text message. So,
and you think that's a good idea? You would recommend that?
I highly recommend that for not only your email or your business accounts, but social media accounts. Definitely for any financial accounts that you possess, you should do that. 100%.
Are you seeing a lot of companies still going in the route of doing this cloud computing approach? And what is that? What does that mean to a company?
Yeah, so cloud computing, you can broadly divide them into two. One is something that we all do inadvertently. And first off, what is cloud? So back in the day, somebody decided to define cloud as, internet as a cloud. So they would have routers like boxes and computers like vertical boxes. And, they would just define that in maybe a PowerPoint or a Visio application. And then for internet, they would just put a cloud. So the internet became a cloud. But what we really mean by a cloud is nothing but a remote location where there's a bunch of servers or maybe apps and networks and infrastructure for networking and IT. And so these apps are running on these servers, and they might be located in various locations. They might be duplicated for redundancy. They might be backed up for another location. So if one location goes down, the company can switch to another location. So if you have, things like, if you're using applications like Facebook, Amazon, or any other application for your business that's a web login, that's basically what cloud really is.
Okay.
So it's something that's remotely on a server or a bunch of servers that you're accessing. So that's one application of cloud that most people use. The other application is to actually put your PC itself and your servers. So if you have a business, you can literally run everything in the cloud or in the internet, where you just go log into a website and you purchase PCs and hardware, and they exist in the cloud. So you use either a software or you use a website login, and you're actually logging into a PC. And it works exactly like a PC and a network. So a bunch of people who are maybe remotely logging in from their home or different states even are logging into the same cloud server infrastructure, if you will. So it looks like all their PCs are in the same network, and they can remotely access it from anywhere in the world.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm old, Ash, and I always describe myself as old when I think about these things, because I'm always amazed at the things you can do these days. And one of the things I've recently discovered and taking a real liking to is OneDrive. So I have OneDrive running on my laptop, which means all the files on my laptop get uploaded to Microsoft's servers up in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
And I have OneDrive on my cell phone, and I can click on it, and I can actually see the desktop of my PC and open the files on my laptop, because Microsoft has uploaded them to the cloud, and it's almost in real time. Yeah. Not quite exactly, but it's pretty darn close. It's really, that type of thing is just, to me, that's amazing how that works.
Absolutely. Again, I would really emphasize two-factor authentication for those documents. If you have any personal identifiable information on those OneDrive documents, I would highly recommend that those are also password protected. And on top of password protecting OneDrive, should you lose your phone, should you lose your laptop, that information then becomes, goes into some bad actors' hands. Or if they somehow are able to compromise your account, then they have that information. So,
well, I always use 1234 as my password. Do you recommend that?
Absolutely not.
I think that's the answer I was expecting from you. So I guess one other question, Ash, I was wanted to ask you about is, the world of, what do they call that? The ChatGPT. And I forget what they call that whole realm.
AI?
AI.
Yeah.
So artificial intelligence really going to start making a big impact in our lives. How are you already seeing AI affecting the world that you work in?
Yes, so cybersecurity, for example, you just mentioned password 123, but I would even go further than that. If you're using your name, if you're using your date of birth, if you're using any of those common things like a password with an exclamation and some variation of that, AI has, not that they are directly using AI, but there are variations of some tool of AI where they can predict those passwords and very closely and very, very fast like within few minutes. If there are those simple passwords that you're using, they will compromise your password very, very quickly. So that's one reality of, the flip side of, ChatGPT and AI, when the bad actors are using it to really predict passwords very, very quickly, based on other information that they can feed, because they know where you live, for example. They might know where you work. You're on TV right now in United Way, so they know who you are. And just by a few bits of information, they can predict some of the easy passwords that you would use. So that's something in cybersecurity area where AI is being used for, bad, but it is what it is. That's the reality we live in, and that's what we try to prevent. Of course, AI is being used in so many other ways, like ChatGPT, where you can write an essay, you can write a business plan, you can do so many other things with that, as well as there are other AI tools that can make videos, that can make pictures and animation, and so many other things in a fraction of the time that it used to take.
It feels to me like at some point in the not too distant future, we will really have to question what is real and what is not real. What is a real picture? What is a real voice? What is a real video? What's authentic and what's not? And that's, I don't know. I have to say, I find that actually a little scary. I've never been a person who is scared of the future and feels like the sky is falling down or I need to hide under a rock. But those types of things actually do concern me, because it is sometimes very difficult to discern truth from fiction, real from fake, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really believe that governments all across the world should, at some point sooner than later, make it mandatory that people mention whether they have produced any content using AI or not. Just like if you had currency, government already, penalizes anyone who has fake currency, uses it, produces it, or distributes it. So same way, if we are mass producing any kind of content, then we should, the government should make it mandatory that we mention that it has been produced by AI or not, because it can have very devastating effects, because people can say, for example, create a video that a disaster happened, thereby making the stocks go down. And
sure.
This is something that's actually happened.
So just like you have a stamp of approval that says you're certified organic or GMO free, you would say, not produced using artificial intelligence.
Absolutely.
And authentication. I think that's a great idea. Ash, how did you get into this business? This is not something you just fall into, right?
Yes and no. I mean, I actually, one of the rare people who have never changed their career. So I've always been in IT, and I just loved it from the get-go. When I was in college, I was doing electronics engineering, and computers fascinated me. I loved to be able to just fix computers, not deal with people. And if something didn't work, I could simply replace it. Not so easy with humans. Over a period of time, I've learned to deal with people, but initially I just loved the fact that I could just sit in a room and fix everything that I wanted to as far as computers and networks, and that really excited me. And then
so I can see you like sitting in your dorm room making computers with a little soldering iron and putting together components that you bought, at the local hobby store, at the Radio Shack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to be one of those guys who would
That's amazing.
soldering stuff all the time.
And so things have come a long way. Probably changed quite a bit since. Remember, you might not be old enough. I don't know if you are, but did you ever feed punch cards in for programming?
I'm not that.
Yeah, right at the border there,
yeah,
right
at the border. But yeah, I did not. Yeah.
Yeah, and my mother did computer programming back in the day, Fortran, COBOL. That was all just, feeding in cards. I remember my first computer was a first generation Mac Plus with a small monochrome screen and 128K of RAM. Kilobytes.
Yeah.
We didn't measure things in megabytes or gigabytes or terabytes, kilobytes. And so the operating system was on floppy disks. And I had to, I wanted to start up a computer, start feeding floppy disks. I wanted to load up an application like Microsoft Word, start feeding in floppy disks. It's, boy, wow, what a different world, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I was in that era where we would have, sometimes it would be a bonus if you had 2 floppy drives, then you didn't have to, switch them out.
Yeah.
And you would have a bootable, floppy that would have the operating system and then word processor or an Excel or, well, it used to be Lotus at that time.
Yeah, Lotus 123.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now what we have on our phones is just so much more than anything we had back then.
Absolutely.
Ash, I did want to mention, just touch upon philanthropy, giving back to the community. As I mentioned in our introduction, you support United Way. You're a supporter and a sponsor of our radio show, which we so appreciate. And you donate to things like our Santa Fund and other various drives we have. What are some of the other ways in which you get involved, or some of the causes that you're passionate about with your business?
So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is creating jobs in the first place. Because creating jobs as a business, we obviously create jobs, and it's because it's self-sustaining. We have clients who get service, they pay us, and then we pay, we create a system, a business that can then pay the employees, and we have employees, and then hopefully we can grow and have more employees, and then, so everyone wins. So the clients get service.
It does.
And so it's kind of like self-sustaining. So I really am a firm believer of that. I'm also a firm believer in promoting people from within, being more career-minded, not just for myself, but for the employees, and give them a path to grow. But besides that, I do understand that people, come to hard times, and all kinds of people in all kinds of walks. Of course, I love to, help our children who are without, parents, in different countries, and through my church and other organizations. I love to, give back. So that's one way I do that. And then the other thing that I've seen in like Manchester and other areas, homelessness, and we try to help them, feed them, give them information of, whatever help they need. Just give, a kind word sometimes, a cold bottle of water that can help, or some, nourishment that they might be able to have, and just to help people out when they're down and out.
Well, I appreciate that. I know that I do the same, and I find myself often, just thinking how lucky I am to be where I am and have the life that I have. And a lot of that is, of course, through your own work and your own efforts, but a lot of it is also just kind of luck too. It's the parents you have, it's the education you've been blessed with, it's the country that we live in. Some of these are just not automatically given things. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel the same. There are things, how some people say that the stars get aligned. I say, well, I'm blessed. And so it's just that the way things worked out for me, some things I had to work on, and some things just were there. And some people are unfortunate that things don't work out for them, sometimes because of their own fault, and sometimes it's a combination, sometimes it's just not their fault. A hurricane or some sickness or disease.
Absolutely. Or war.
Yeah, or war, exactly. And earthquakes and stuff like that, right? I mean, Turkey just had one, and it's none of those people's fault, but, stuff happens. And so I love to give back. If I'm blessed, I'd love to bless other people.
Well, I really appreciate that you do that with your business. I know that there are other businesses that do and many that don't. And I kind of feel like if we all pitched in just a little bit and showed some humanity and compassion and generosity, what a world we would live in and how better it would be. So thank you.
Absolutely.
What's next for you and CrossNet IT? What's next?
Well, the next thing is to just grow the company and serve more people, serve more clients, as well as do more of philanthropy and just be, more impactful in society in general.
That's great. Now, if I'm listening to this show and I'm, I'm a company owner, a business owner. Maybe I do have 25 employees and a bunch of computers, a bunch of machines. How would I know if you're right for me? What are some of the things that would be indicators for me?
So number one thing that I would say is go to google.com and type in our company name, CrossNet. It's 2 words, CrossNet Inc.
Okay.
Reviews, and you will see how our reviews are. You can compare us to any other company and see how they're doing. And then the other thing is go to our website and you can see our products and services, which is crossnetinc.com. And then our email is sales@crossnetinc.com, and you can contact us. And of course, our number is 603-810-1000, and you can contact us, and I can, have a quick conversation, or we can have a elaborate conversation and, do some free IT consulting and figure out what your needs are.
That sounds great. Thank you. Ash, we're out of time. This always goes so fast, but I did want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike, for having me.
This is a gift I brought for you, a United Way baseball cap.
Thank you.
You can wear it, or you can give it to one of your kids.
I can wear it right
fine
now.
as well. There you go. I did want to thank you for your support and appreciation for what you do in our community. I'm sure that we'll see each other again very soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So thank you for tuning in today. You've been listening to the United Way show, Living United with Small Business. This show is about small businesses, medium-sized businesses in our community. They're making a difference, that are helping to support our community, not just through the services and the products they offer, but through the ways in which they offer philanthropy and goodwill back to the community. So thank you for tuning in. We will be back in a couple of weeks with another episode. And until then, please remember to be kind to one another, because great things really do happen when we live united.